Do you feel like you've got no idea what you're doing with writing, while every other writer in the world has it absolutely nailed down and knows exactly what they're doing? If that sounds like you, then you have imposter syndrome, my friend. So what can you do about that? Well, imposter syndrome is a really bizarre thing, because the very fact that it's so common among writers kind of says something about it. Because I would estimate that 99.9% of writers have imposter syndrome. And so what does that tell us? That tells us that if everyone thinks they're an imposter, then they can't all be imposters. You have a ship sailing full of people who all think they're imposters, and yet they're still there on the ship, but none of them believe they should be there. How ridiculous is that? Part of the problem is that we've been told by an endless line of writing gurus that there are systems that they have in place that will help you write that novel. An absolute system, an infallible system, and a system implies rules. And so writers end up thinking, well, I don't know what the rules are. Does everybody else know what the rules are? I've got no idea. Newsflash, there are no rules. You can write a novel however you like. There are a million different ways to write a novel, quite literally, and all that matters is getting to the finishing line and writing something that the number of people that you want to love it, love. You can write the novel backwards, Memento style. You can write the middle bit first, and then the end, and then the beginning. You can write it in whatever order you like, as long as the end result is great. And so imposter syndrome is a load of nonsense. Who decides who's an imposter anyway? It's only us and our insecurities who paint us as an imposter. And we have to accept that when we start on the writing journey in particular, our writing is probably not going to be world class. It probably won't have people cheering from the rooftops, because we have to master the craft, or at least get better at the craft. You wouldn't launch a career in professional football, would you, and just decide that you were going to be amazing overnight? No, you'd realise that training would be involved, and very necessary. Why should other people somehow have some kind of better understanding of story than you do? We all consume story by the gallon these days. We consume story until it comes out of our eyes and ear holes, because we watch more than we ever used to before. There are more channels of entertainment. It's an endless pipeline of story being funneled into our brain. So we all have a very instinctive understanding of stories. No one understands it better than you, my friend. So stop worrying about what other people think and whether they think you're a proper writer, because there's no such thing. Even writers who have novels published sometimes end up getting pushed out the other end of the machine and then thinking, oh, was I ever a proper writer? There's no such thing. All that matters is the next book. And if that's your first, I would very much like you to get started. If you feel that you'd like friendly help from an online writing community, and maybe personal help from me one-on-one, then you'll find details of that stuff down there in the video description. I totally get that the way some of us were raised will have affected the way we feel about ourselves, and we might feel like imposters in some or even all walks of life. But that's still not going to stop me from telling you that everyone feeling that they're an imposter doesn't make sense. No one gets to call you an imposter, and you certainly shouldn't be calling yourself one. So I hereby insist that you hop aboard the crazy carousel that is writing and get on with it and enjoy it and learn from every mistake you make and stop worrying about being an imposter. You are a creative person, and you have exactly the same right as anyone else on this planet to create and to write and to share your work with other people. Please write these words on a piece of paper right now and stick them on a wall. I am allowed to create. I am allowed to have fun. And yes, I am walking backwards. I'm not sure why I'm doing that. Don't write that last bit on the piece of paper. Check out this video here that will tell you the other things you need in order to get truly up and running and write like hell.